Hey guys, we're in the second week of 2019 and you're back for part 2 of Michael Jackson. We're going to start off with a super quick quickie all about Britney Spears and our hopes for her dad to have a speedy recovery. Thanks for listening. Stay tuned.
What up, fam? It's good, y'all. Feels good, right? Yeah, I know it do. And without further ado, we broadcasting live from CA to NY.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. My name is May.
And my name is Stephanie, and this is the Drama Club.
El Club de Drama.
Thank you for coming back to listen to part 2 of Michael Jackson.
Because it's long as fuck, we're just going to give you a quick little...
As quickie.
a quick little hot topic.
So today, Friday, January 4th, right?
Yeah.
Britney Spears took to Twitter to announce that she is going to cancel her... Well, not cancel, but postpone is, I think, what she used.
But it's canceled. Because
it's canceled?
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why I don't know what's going on, because it's canceled.
Okay, so Britney Spears is canceling her upcoming residency in Vegas due to her dad's health issues, so he had his colon burst, right?
Yeah, a perforated colon or something.
And then but that already happened, and he had surgery, and it was life-threatening.
Mm-hmm.
But he's expected to fully recover.
Yeah. He's home now, I think.
Yeah. So we don't know if there's maybe something they're not saying.
Right.
Because if he's expected to fully recover and the worst is already behind them.
Exactly.
I kind of don't get why the whole ass thing is now canceled.
Maybe they just didn't want to give her time off. Maybe she wanted to postpone it, and maybe they were like, nope. I don't know.
Yeah. So she tweeted out some pictures of her as a little baby with her parents.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I know. And she said she's dedicated to taking care of her family first and foremost, which is cool because she's always been super close to her mom and dad.
Yeah, for sure. She's all about her family.
Her dad fucking swooped in and helped her a lot when she was sick,
Yeah, for sure. She probably wouldn't be here right now if it weren't for her dad.
Yeah, I was going to use the word saved, but I guess it's okay for a man to save a woman when that's their daughter, right?
Captain Save Your Daughter.
Yeah. So yeah, and we see so many child stars, their parents just not giving a fuck.
Yep, and then throw them away when they stop making them
seriously,
that money. Yeah.
Look at Lindsay Schmoesen.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see Anti-Lawyer's thing on Lindsay Lohan?
No, what?
He said that she took a lot of money from investors for that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for
her beach club.
And it looks like it's not making the money back or something. And
yeah.
Ouch, Chale.
Oh, she's gonna have to go try to kidnap a whole bunch of Syrian refugees to try to
the face.
Oh, so yeah, hopefully he has a speedy recovery. It looks like things are, like you said, the worst is behind them, and
yeah, we gotta protect Britney at all costs. Also,
I
do not want to see Britney lose a parent. She's been through a lot,
right? And then who's gonna be there for her? Also,
yeah,
she needs that stability. She needs somebody who's behind the scenes in her best interest.
Yeah. How old are her kids now?
One's Jaden. I think he's the oldest one. He's got to be 14.
I remember after she went through everything in 2007 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Remember somebody asked her what would you do if your boys wanted to be in the entertainment industry? And she said I'd lock them in their room until they were 30 or something. Really sad.
That tells you something.
I know.
Yeah.
I felt so bad for her. I was like, oh shit. Well, there's another downer.
No. So nobody's gonna get to see Britney in Vegas anytime soon. Which sucks.
But Gwen's there, so you can watch Gwen.
That's true. I was just thinking about Gwen because you think that she's sad that she ended up with Blake Shelton and Eve ended up with a billionaire.
I saw a picture of her macking on Blake Shelton and I was like, ugh.
Ew.
It didn't look like I don't know. They're a weird couple to me on both ends. Like, it's crazy to me that he would want to be with her. Like, she doesn't seem like his vibe, and he don't seem like her vibe. So it's weird. It's a vibe.
Let's kill that vibe, bitch.
Boom, 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 boom. Every time he has documentaries, they cut out with like a little bit of that song.
Yeah. I wonder why. I wonder if it's like that one's cheap for some reason. Like they're allowed
yeah,
to.
right? Yeah, he probably gave everybody the rights to that shit.
Or like in a lot of those YouTube documentaries, they do like sort of like somebody doing something like that on the piano or something, you know, like, which is funny.
Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah.
dun, dun.
but they throw a little like what's the thing that Vanilla Ice did? Ding 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 ding.
Yeah.
Ding 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 ding. It's not the same.
It's not the same.
It's not the same.
He's got those extra dings. What a dumbo. That fool flips houses now.
Yup.
Good for him.
In Florida though, how much money are you making off of that? No shame to Florida, but
No.
like
Oh my god. Oh, I was getting all salty when I was telling him about the first accuser story, and he was like, he like loves Michael Jackson. His mom loves Michael Jackson. Like, it's her generation that really, I think, saw him like in his glory. So Joel grew up like really loving him, and he was like, what did he say to me? He was like, he just let too many kids like in. Like, he was trying to do something good and it turned bad. And I was like, baby, he has a song called Billie Jean where he knew he couldn't let hoes in, but he's gonna let a bunch of little kids in. That shit's weird.
Okay, that is my question. Well, let's say you do really love kids or whatever, and like the whole first thing was like a sham. Why not just like stay away?
Cut it from like now.
What is this
didn't
obsession?
You learn your lesson?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's obsessed.
Carrie Fisher. So what Carrie Fisher said in her autobiography was like, look, like that guy, that accuser number one's dad, that was her dentist, told her that he was going to bring charges against Michael. And she was like, this guy's a fucking sleazeball. She was like, look, Michael Jackson, something's off. Like, you don't have a zoo and a Ferris wheel and all this shit in your house, like, without something being off. But do I think that he really did anything like that to, at least to that child? No, I don't. And she said that in her autobiography, and that she didn't like this kid's dad, like accuser number one's dad, that he seemed kind of like he was a sleazeball, maybe like he was out to get something or looking for something. But I don't know. It's just so hard to swallow. Everything is, you know.
Well, you know that accuser number one, Michael used to sleep over at his house, at accuser number one's house, at times for 30 days straight.
And Michael, they would like share bed together.
In his bed. And his mom, accuser number one's mom, one day told Michael when he was coming over to sleep at their house, like, I don't like this. This needs to stop. And she said Michael started crying and was like, how dare you like think that I could be doing anything to your son? I'm gonna kill myself if you don't let us like sleep in the same room together, in the same bed together. And she was kind of like, fuck. And so she let him. Weird. And then he bought her a Cartier watch.
Oh.
And I think that's why the accuser didn't have a relationship with his mom, because
he thinks that she kind of allowed it.
Yeah, she had the chance to stop it and she didn't.
Yeah. That's awful.
There was I don't want to laugh, but he said something really funny when he
the accuser
when he said the first time he saw Michael Jackson's penis, he said, "You look like a cow," because it was like spotted.
Yeah. Oh. That's a weird vibe.
That's
Michael.
It's
so fucking weird.
I don't like. I've been real nervous to do these episodes because
it's really uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's so uncomfortable. Like, it's weird to like talk about these things that happen to children, or you know, I guess we don't know for sure, but
yeah, I think the only people that know are, well, I don't know.
Yeah,
one is gone.
Yeah. Do you want to like pick up on a little bit of Lisa Marie?
Lisa Marie.
Okay.
So right when this was, the first accusations were going down with Michael, he married Lisa Marie Presley
Mm-hmm.
in May 1994 in secret in the Dominican Republic.
Yeah.
As the accusations started becoming public, Michael became really attached and dependent on her for emotional support.
Mm-hmm.
Of this time, Lisa said, quote, "I believed he didn't do anything wrong and that he was wrongly accused. And yes, I began to fall in love with him." She allegedly tried to persuade Michael to settle out of court so he could go to rehab and focus on his addiction problems. He then did both, allegedly, because of her advice.
Right.
This is all, this is like cookie cutter version of the story.
Mm-hmm.
They divorced amicably less than 2 years later, and then Lisa Marie told Oprah in 2010 that they spent the next 5 years getting back together and breaking up until she finally had the courage to walk away. So they were together for a long ass time.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, Lisa and Michael were both very private of their relationship and have only spoken of their time together in fond ways. There's so much I wish I could ask her.
And I want the truth, though. I don't know that I'm getting the truth. Well, getting her version of the truth.
Yeah.
There's two sides to every story, and I'm sure she saw it a certain way and he saw it another way.
Yeah. But, why would Lisa Marie protect him? Why wouldn't we believe her?
Well, I believe... All right, should I start?
Yeah.
Okay. So, let me just say, I'm doing the second half of Michael's life, starting with Lisa Marie also, and I got this from several articles in Vanity Fair by Maureen Orth, who spent damn near 15 years investigating Michael.
Wow.
And writing about him for the magazine. I also watched a handful of YouTube documentaries and consulted all the Wikipedias as per usual.
Mm-hmm.
So Lisa Marie and Michael first met at a Jackson show when she was 7 and he was 17.
Yeah, she was a little girl.
Yeah, she was little. So I feel like that would be super adorable if I believed that this was a real relationship, which I kind of don't.
Uh-huh.
I watched the Oprah interview that you watched, the one after he died. And I also watched the interview that they did together with Diane Sawyer right after they got married.
Yeah. And that was huge when that came public.
Yeah.
Because Michael was a freak. At this point, they were
For
already,
sure.
clouding him around as this weirdo. He was wacko jacko.
That's why people, didn't believe it from the jump.
Yeah.
What I think is, Lisa Marie, to this day, swears up and down that their relationship was real.
Yeah.
She's she always says, oh, we did everything that normal married people will do.
Yeah. Yep, that's her go-to.
Yeah. And here's what I think happened. I think that they both thought that they were playing each other.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So it was reported that Michael originally wanted Princess Diana to appear with him on the Diane Sawyer interview so that she could talk shit about the paparazzi and the tabloids. Because obviously, at that time, they were, hounding
both
her,
being
too.
Hunted down. And, everything I've seen about Michael really compares, the way the media attacked him and followed him around to the way they were doing that to Princess Diana.
Yeah, I totally see the parallels, and I see why he would want to do that. And also, he had just given them money.
A bunch of money, so he was on their good side.
Right, but she declined.
Yeah.
So then he tried to see if he could be knighted by the queen for, quote-unquote, his work with little children. Mind you, this is all after...
the first accuser came out and that whole thing went down.
Right. So he was actually working behind the scenes to see if the queen would knight him right there live on TV, during the interview. Which, I mean, please let that be on this season of The Crown.
Fuck yeah. Oh my God. Bring back Ralph Fiennes to be fucking Michael Jackson.
Why did that get scrapped? Oh my God, I want to see that so bad.
That was such a problem, remember? Yeah. People were the internet was real mad about that.
Somebody leaked that, please. I need to see that. Okay, so like you said, Lisa Marie and Michael allegedly reconnected in 1992.
Mm-hmm.
And they started talking on the phone every day. Obviously, in 1993, Michael faces the first big public allegations of sexual abuse, and Lisa Marie remains his friend throughout this time, offering her support and advice to him, mostly by phone because she was still married at the time, and her 2 kids were still pretty young.
Yeah.
Also...
who was Lisa Marie's first husband?
Some guy, some nobody. He's a musician in her band, but they're they're best friends to this day. I think he lives on her property or something.
And they have kids together.
Yeah, they have kids together. And she always says what we have, I'm never going to have that with anybody else. It didn't work as a marriage, but he's my best friend. We're best friends.
Yeah.
Which also leads me to kind of believe, like, she was kind of like, I'm going to leave you for Michael. And he was kind of like, okay, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, so they apparently, like, they have this whole relationship in 1993. But as we know, Michael was, like, sleeping with, when I say sleeping with, I mean next to, at least, the first accuser for, like, months at a time. You know, so he wasn't with Lisa Marie, like, physically at this time. They weren't spending much time together, if any, alone.
Yeah, their relationship was, like, built over the phone.
Yes.
Kiss me through the phone.
And at some point in late 1993, shortly after Lisa Marie separated from her first husband, Michael proposes to her by phone and she accepts. Eventually, I guess he gave her what, in her words, was a 10-carat ring, although I've never seen it. Have you?
No, and I did read that he proposed to her by phone, which, by the way, don't you ever fucking do that. You could only pull that kind of shit if you're Michael Jackson, okay?
For real. And if you back it up with a 10-carat ring.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like you said, that quote where she was like, yeah, I believed him. I think that, of course she believed him. This is someone that, like, you have at least a slight connection with since the time you were 7 years old. You know, and I think that when you know someone, or at least, like, you think that you know them, when you're friends with someone, you want to believe the best about them.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine that they could do anything so dark.
Yes, exactly. So totally, I think that she got into this relationship thinking, like, okay, like, I believe him. I'm gonna help him.
Yeah.
And also, I think there's this whole other layer where she sees a lot of her father in him, because she always compares them. Especially the way that they both died.
Yeah.
She sees them as, like, these tragic figures and, like, geniuses and artists. And I think that was part of her connection and or attraction to Michael. So she definitely gave him the benefit of the doubt. I also know that she showed up to their first date with her demo because she really wanted to make it as a singer. So obviously there was a good business opportunity for her here.
Yeah.
As for Michael, who was not a dumb guy, as we talked about in the last episode, and by all accounts was a shrewd and cunning businessman, he also saw an opportunity to rehab his own image. And also by this point, he desperately wanted children of his own. So by marrying Lisa Marie, he'd be killing two birds with one stone. So Lisa Marie got Michael to settle with the family of the accuser and also got him into rehab, as we talked about. In May of 1994, just 20 days after Lisa Marie's divorce is finalized, they get married in the Dominican Republic. And when Priscilla Presley heard that they got married, she was furious. And she told Lisa Marie that it was obvious that he was using her, and it caused kind of a rift in their relationship for a while. Even though in the public, Priscilla was saying, oh, it's fine, like, congratulations, but behind closed doors, she was pissed.
Yeah.
But see, I think that they understood, like I said, like, they were both, like, in it for their own reasons. So I don't think that outside people really understood what was going on between them.
Yeah.
Imagine having to tell your mom you married Michael Jackson.
No. Hell no.
There would be a lot of por dioses.
Candle lighting. It'd be fucking dramatic.
La Virgen would be like, what?
Yeah. My mom's St. Jude's shrine would have pictures of Michael all over it.
So 4 months after the wedding, Michael and Lisa Marie infamously appeared on stage to open the 1994 MTV Video Music Awards, where Michael
so bad.
where Michael said the words which will live in infamy. Just think, nobody thought this would last. Then he forces this really huge, weird, and uncomfortable kiss on her, and they both walk away.
Yeah. And she looks mortified.
Yeah, she's completely horrified. She kept trying to, like, cover her face while they were walking off stage. And she later told Oprah that Michael's hand was all blue because she was squeezing it so hard.
Yeah.
So I really don't think that she was with him for the, like, quote unquote publicity. I just think that she wanted to use his industry connections to sort of, like, launch a serious singing career for herself. So I think anytime he kind of used her like a prop like this, she got very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So, like I said, Lisa swears up and down that they had sex and that it was hot sex and, like, they were really sexual and into each other. Which, like, girl, I guess. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I sort of believe it just because I know that Michael really wanted to have kids really bad at this point.
Yeah.
Although I should point out that they never lived together.
Uh-huh.
He, of course, lived at Neverland, and she lived on her own private ranch that she's
In-
always had in the middle of nowhere.
In Tennessee, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. She doesn't live at Graceland. No, Graceland is a fucking museum.
No.
My parents went there.
Oh, really? Did they like it?
No, my mom said it was weird.
She
was like, it's such an old house. Like, you imagine something else in your head.
Do they keep it up, though? Is it, like, falling apart, you know?
Yeah, they keep it up. But she was very unimpressed.
I want to go to Dollywood.
Oh my God, May. Yes.
Yeah.
I would die. I just saw this picture of her on Twitter going viral. Did you see that shit?
Mm-mm.
She tweeted, she was like, leather and lace.
Ooh.
And it's a picture of her like...
Bless your 2019 and look that shit up, you guys.
Right? Seriously. She said, leather and lace, a look.
Ooh, she looks bomb.
Yeah,
she looks
she's
like
a fucking boss.
She looks like Olivia Newton-John at the end of Grease.
Yeah, she does. That's awesome.
So, yeah, they never lived together, which is, I don't know. Anyway, the tea is that she never, ever even saw him without his makeup on.
But hey, I know girls who have been in relationships where the guy has never seen them without.
That's what I was gonna say. This is on this one thing I can kind of relate to Michael.
Yeah, that shit's crazy.
Shoot, that's what I was gonna say. I was with a guy for like 9 years. He probably saw me without my makeup on like a handful of times. Yeah. I'd be marvelous Mrs. Maiseling that shit. Wake up early, do my makeup. So Mike understood that you gotta look popping for your boo.
Yep. See, he out here.
You did a little sketch, a little secret he right there. He out there. Chamon. Okay, and soon after they got married, he went on tour, and she joined him on a few stops, but they weren't spending a whole lot of time together.
Right. Mostly
photo ops. But even then, there are like almost no photos of them together in the wild. You know?
Yeah.
With as famous as they were and as thirsty as the paparazzi were, you'd think that there would be pics of them going to dinner or to a concert or whatever, but no.
Just like at events and shit.
Yeah, just like outside of his concert or something. Or like at the VMAs, you know?
Yeah.
That's why I'm not buying it. Not buying it. In my heart of hearts, I think that he was like low-key avoiding her. Like, I think that she might have been the first woman that he had sex with. And I don't know if he was super into it. Like, I think that made him realize, like, oh, shit, like, if I can't do it with Lisa Marie, then maybe I can't do it.
Yeah.
He started to get stressed that she wasn't getting pregnant, which Lisa Marie says that she was sort of trying to delay because things between them weren't super stable. And the last thing that she ever wanted to do was go up against him in a custody battle.
Right. Ooh, that's true, though.
Yeah, because he had armies of lawyers and seemingly unlimited money. And yeah, she was just like, nope, I'm not going to do that. Although they did have a pretty ironclad prenup.
Yeah, their divorce was like crazy quick and amicable.
Yeah. Which I have to imagine said that they each left with what they came in with because at the time, Lisa Marie had just come into her inheritance.
Yeah.
I think she came into it in like 93. So she had like $150 million in the bank. Which, by the way, she's currently allegedly like 16 million in debt.
I know she's broke. That makes me really sad for her.
How did that happen?
I don't know. Like, who owns all the rights to his music?
She does.
I wonder. What the fuck is going on?
Yeah. I think that she said that her old accountant was embezzling money from her, like stole $100 million from her or something.
Oh, that's fucking awful. I love these pictures of Lisa Marie during this time where she's wearing like these high waist black pants and the white shirt.
Yes, and her hair has
all
like
pin-up-y.
Yeah, she was
rockabilly.
She was like really pretty for a minute.
Yeah, she's beautiful. Well, Priscilla Presley's fucking amazing.
She's fucking bomb. I was just looking at her. Priscilla still looks great today.
Yeah, she does.
But like, I just saw a video of her like in the 80s, and I was like, damn.
There's old videos of Priscilla and Elvis, like right after they got married, where they're just like so hot, both of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Really, really good looking, and you just watch them together. It's great.
That might be one because she was like, what, 15?
Yeah, their marriage was tumultuous.
Yeah. So anyway, so she had money, and then Michael was rich as fuck at that time, probably right up there with her. And even after the payout to the accuser.
Yeah.
So anyway, Michael wants to have babies, and although Lisa Marie came into the marriage knowing that this was something that was to be expected of her, she was starting to have second thoughts, and they're rarely together anyway, so it wasn't going to happen. Enter an important figure into Michael's story, Debbie Rowe.
Yeah.
Debbie Rowe was a nurse who worked with Michael's dermatologist with whom he had become close. As we can imagine, Michael was all up in his dermatologist's office several times a week, so it's not crazy that he would strike up a friendship with the employees there.
Right.
Now, this is how I know that Michael was bleaching his skin. So he has vitiligo, which, I mean, we've seen people with vitiligo. There's varying degrees of quote unquote severity, but you get
like Winnie Harlow is like a really famous model with vitiligo,
and hers is very prominent.
Yeah,
but like if you look at Winnie, like she's got splotches, you know, and I could understand Michael not wanting to deal with having to like cover those splotches with makeup 24/7.
Yeah,
I get that. But he starts bleaching. The reason he became close to Debbie was because he started bleaching his genitals and it burned him pretty badly. So she started paying special attention to his genitalia and would apply like ointments and salves and kind of nurse his dick back to life. And so that's how they got close. So yeah, he was doing bleaching. He was doing bleaching for at least like 20 years all over his body just because he did not like the color of his skin.
Because he didn't like the color of his skin, or because he didn't like the patches?
If he didn't like the patches, he didn't have to do it like on his genitals. You know?
Right.
And he could have stopped at a certain point, but he kept going.
Okay.
Beyond what, because otherwise you'd see other people with vitiligo doing that 24/7. He was prescribed the most powerful bleaching cream approved by the FDA, and he was like doing it all over his body, in between his butt crack, like everywhere.
Yeah. How do you know though? It's just like people talking.
No, because of his autopsy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I watched a video that was like one of those like Reels channels videos or something that was about Michael Jackson's autopsy. And also we have his records from, he owed his pharmacist a lot of money because he was a drug user, and he would pay them like 10 grand a month. And like among the payments that he was making was his skin bleaching instruments and creams.
Yeah.
So Debbie was a weird kind of biker chick, and she'd basically just offered to have Michael's kids as a quote unquote present to him.
Right. Like she said, like, I knew he wanted to have kids so bad, and he had just broken up with Lisa Marie, so I just offered to have the fucking kids for him.
Well, this was before they were broken up. This was before he was broken up with Lisa Marie. So Michael tells Lisa Marie, like, hey, if you don't want to have my babies, that's cool. Debbie said she'd do it. So Lisa Marie is like, what the actual fuck? And is basically like, you know what? Whatever, Michael. Do whatever you want. And they sort of each go about their business for a little while. Like, you know, they're like, that was just a fight. Forget it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Michael's starting to get fucked up on drugs again.
Yeah.
And that was another thing that he was doing at his dermatologist. He was getting Demerol injected, which is like it's for like pain. But he was going to his dermatologist and doing it several times a week until he would pass out, basically. It's sort of like it's like heroin. So he was doing basically heroin under supervision of his dermatologist.
It's rich people's heroin.
Yeah, it's some rich people shit. So Lisa Marie is starting to see signs of the drug use here and there, or at least like the escalation of the drug use. And she's already thinking like, you know what, whatever we're doing, it might not be working and I might need to bounce.
Yeah.
So she sticks around thinking that they can work it out. But then in December of 1995, Michael was rehearsing a special for HBO when he collapsed on stage and was rushed to the hospital in really bad shape. I guess when he collapsed, he like hit his head and like he was bleeding and he was out cold, and his blood pressure dropped to like a really scary place. He almost stopped breathing. Like it was really bad.
Wow.
So of course they're still married. Like they're going through a rough patch, but they're still married. She like flies to be by his side.
Yeah.
And when she got there, Michael had given his security strict orders not to let her in. And that's when she knew it was definitely over, and she filed for divorce a few weeks later in January of 1996. She told Oprah that she knew at that moment that the drugs had gotten out of control because she would ask the doctors and handlers updates and like what was wrong with him, and every day was a different story. She was like, first it was one day was dehydration, the next day it was exhaustion, and then like the next day he had a virus, blah blah blah. So she wasn't buying it, and she was like, it's the fucking drugs.
Yeah.
And so she said like that's when she needed to make her move and get out of it before it got really bad. So they get divorced and everything's finalized by August of 1996, at which point Debbie Rowe is already at least 2 months pregnant with the baby who will become Prince Michael Jackson I. After having miscarried the first baby she carried for Michael back in March, just 2 months after Lisa Marie filed for divorce. And like you said, Lisa Marie told Oprah that they spent the next 4 or 5 years breaking up and getting back together
again.
I wonder why, though. He was already having babies with this other woman.
But she loved him.
Yeah.
I mean, and like the baby thing with the other girl was like, that was almost like a transaction. It wasn't like romantic or anything.
Yeah, for sure it was.
So, you know.
But it seems like she should have fucking known better to like not try to make it work with this dude.
People do crazy things when they're in love, man.
I'm also going to throw a fact in here.
All right.
Lisa Marie is currently divorcing her 4th husband.
Who she was with for a long time, right?
Yeah, they have a set of twins.
Uh-huh.
And, also, shout out to her 3rd husband, Nicolas Cage, and our friends over at Cage Pod.
For whom she was married to for less time than with Michael Jackson.
So, she's currently divorcing her 4th husband, with whom she has a set of twins, after finding a ton of child porn on his computer.
Oh, no, baby, what is you doing?
So, obviously, she found that out. She immediately broke up with him, whatever. But there's, all right, two accused abusers right there.
Is he accused or he just has
he has the child
pornography
porn.
Yeah.
But I don't know, that's something. I think maybe this type of person seeks her out because they know that she'll give them the benefit of the doubt. And
that's heavy speculation there, May.
I'm speculating.
You hella said fact like 2 minutes ago.
Well, the fact is that she's divorcing him because of that.
Oh, okay.
Because of the child porn. That's not speculation.
Yeah.
The speculation is what is the connection psychologically. Psychology is all speculation. Okay. Meanwhile, Michael's mother, Catherine, is freaking the fuck out that Michael is having a baby out of wedlock because, she's hella Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah.
So she kind of forces Michael to marry Debbie in November when Debbie's like 6 months pregnant. Although she and Michael never lived together before or after the marriage. Allegedly, they'd been planning to handle the whole thing as a very private, standard surrogacy deal, but that all went to shit when Catherine got involved. Debbie gives birth to Prince Michael in February, and immediately after giving birth to him, doesn't see him again for 6 weeks until Michael summons her in for a family photo shoot, after which he doesn't have contact with the child again, except on rare occasions.
Right.
However, by April of the next year, 1998, Debbie has given birth to baby Paris Michael Jackson, who the quote-unquote couple claimed was named after the city in which she was conceived.
Right.
Is that the truth?
I don't know.
So, Debbie has a similar relationship with Paris as with Prince, in that she has no relationship with her at all. Now I think they're starting to see each other better now. I mean, more now that she's older, but
I think she tries, but I don't know if it happens. Like she tried to make a fuss after he died and like tried to like, I don't know, just get a relationship with them. She's tried a couple times, right? To like get more rights.
I'll get into it. Yeah.
That lady's odd to me.
Yeah, she's odd. Why would you want to get wrapped up in all of this?
Why would you just have someone's children like that? Like,
let me tell you something. Whether they did it or not, like, I don't know that I would have a child for someone who is accused of being a child molester.
No, but how could you just have a child and be like, okay, just like give it up? Like,
well, surrogacy is a thing, I get that.
Yeah, but that's like other people's genetics are being put into you, right? surrogacy, like like they implant like the egg and the sperm into you, right?
But sometimes you donate your own egg.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So anyway,
but she's not a surrogate. Like she won't sign paperwork to saying that she is, right?
Well, because she was legally his wife, so it really fucks it all up. You know?
This is so weird. Yeah.
So now let's address the elephant in the room. And it's like an ongoing scandal. Michael Jackson claims that his children are his biological offspring.
Uh-huh.
Although he has at times admitted that they were the result of artificial insemination with his own sperm.
Yeah.
So that's what he says. It's so weird to talk about Michael Jackson's sperm. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, obviously he is the father to his children, all three of them, including Blanket, who we'll get introduced to later in the story. He's the only father they have ever known, and nothing anyone says can ever change that.
Mm-mm.
But that being said, look at those kids, dude.
No, I don't think they look anything like him.
I
don't think they even look like Debbie. Right. Maybe Prince does a little bit, but Paris, whose kid is she?
Yes, she's really pretty sometimes.
She's beautiful. I don't know who the fuck her parents are.
Well, and you know what's weird? Michael used to bleach Prince's hair when he was a little tiny baby. That's creepy to me.
Yeah, people do weird stuff to their kids.
People do fucking weird shit. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Prince actually looks like he's Debbie's son.
You think so? Prince to me looks like one of the Coreys. The one that's alive.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
That's wild speculation, but if somebody said that was the sperm donor, I'd be like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see that thing? I saw somebody talking about it. Do you remember the Coreys where, I don't know if they had their own reality show or if they were on like somebody else's?
The two Coreys. No, they had their own reality show for a second.
There was like a scene where they were like fighting with each other, and the dead Corey, like the cute one, was telling the alive Corey, like, you know that someone raped me and you're still friends with that motherfucker like to this day. And everybody was saying like he's probably talking about Michael Jackson. Yeah. Okay. Anyway,
I just saw NT Lawyer say that Charlie Sheen is like, did you see that shit?
No.
That Heather Locklear, who had a relationship with him, is like, you know, she's going through a really hard time.
Yeah.
And she's saying like these things that she helped him basically like get with young boys.
Oh my God.
And that she's starting to talk and like he's getting all panicky and that like he's suicidal.
No way.
Yeah. And that was a thing that people thought that Charlie had raped. Not one of the Coreys, I don't think.
Yes, one of the Coreys.
Was it one of the Coreys?
Yeah. The dead one.
That's super sketchy. That poor kid, man.
Yeah. You just like, you don't stand a chance. There are all these sharks around you.
Yeah, and in Hollywood, they like fucking...
Right. They protect them because
they protect them, yeah.
Because it's going to affect your paycheck in some roundabout way. Like, everybody has this big conspiracy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we know, like, not a single one of those kids is his, like, not his biological child, but...
How do we know that? I'm not saying I know that. You go ahead and say that shit.
I will say that shit. Rolling Stone references that Debbie has admitted a few times that Michael isn't the biological father of at least her kids.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't find the original statements that they're referencing.
Blanket looks like Michael a little bit.
I mean,
Blanket looks more like Michael than Paris and Prince.
Blanket is the only one where I could, if you were like, oh, he's the father, I'd be like, oh, all right, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Vanity Fair does say that although Debbie doesn't disclose who the biological father is, she does make a cryptic reference to the kids being Jewish, which neither she and obviously Michael were.
They don't look Jewish. They don't have like typical Jewish features.
They weren't born with a yarmulke. No, but like Jewish people look very just same like black people. I'm not saying that they're not black. Black people come in all shades and
here's my problem with that is like just because they don't look like him, I don't know. That's not like 100% to me.
Of course it's not 100%, but you can make an educated guess.
No.
You can make an educated guess. Like if someone told you for $1 million, guess.
For what? Whether those are his kids or not?
Yes.
But they are his kids. Like they're his kids.
Yeah, they're his kids. But if they have his genetics.
This is an awful game show I'm on.
This is some Black Mirror shit.
This is so fucked up. This is some Black Mirror shit.
Okay, so Bob Jones, who was Michael's longtime publicist, we're talking like decades, Yeah. He wrote in his book that Michael hated his father so much that he in turn hated his dark skin and dark-skinned people, and that's why he didn't want to have biological children so as to not risk that they'd look like Joe.
That's crazy.
And, obviously Bob Jones is not, that also sounds like a fake name, huh? Bob Jones. But Bob Jones, like, he's not a psychiatrist. He's not Michael's psychiatrist, but he knows this dude intimately,
Yeah.
So, he's making a guess based on, like, the man that he knows.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is also horrible. It just makes me feel all, like, awful. Mm-hmm. I just, like, I don't, even, like, the thing, like, that he hated being black makes me feel, like, we don't know. We don't know why he bleached his skin. He's a fucking weirdo.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't that. Maybe he's just a fucking, like, maybe he has OCD and, like, it started like, clearing up his patches and then started putting the shit up his ass. He's a fucking weirdo. Like, we don't know. Is it because it's just so awful to me to think that anybody could feel that way?
Yeah.
Like,
right.
How horrible.
But, like, if you were to engineer this situation, like his childhood in a lab, for him to end up the way that he ended up, like, you couldn't have come up with a more fitting scenario.
Yeah. Just awful.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to say the kids aren't his biological kids, but he continued to publicly claim the opposite for the rest of his life, despite, what we could see with our eyes. Which is a common theme in his life because he was a liar. He lies about his plastic surgeries in the same way, which
he
is like
denies a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's so we can see, like, he says that his plastic surgeries are like
he said he has like one nose job.
Yeah. Oh, how do you is like that too?
He's out of touch with reality. Like, he didn't have a normal life. Like, he's just like, it's true. He is like out of touch with reality, and like he probably, like, I don't know. I wonder if he believes the shit he says.
Or if, like, he's saying, like, oh, I didn't have plastic surgery. It was, like, reconstructive surgery or something. Yeah. Like, he's rationalizing it in his own mind.
Yeah.
According to Michael's business manager, in July of 1999, Debbie calls and demands a divorce and $10 million, basically saying it was non-negotiable or else she'd start spilling the tea on him and his whole family. So Michael immediately calls up his whole team and says, just give her whatever the fuck she wants.
Yeah.
So he pays her $1.5 million up front, and he buys her a house in Beverly Hills.
Right.
And in return, Debbie gave up all parental rights.
Mm-hmm.
She later admitted that she didn't even really meet her kids until they were like 3 or 4. And even then, Michael introduced her as a friend of Daddy's.
Oh, wow.
Which I get. You don't want to confuse. They're little,
Yeah.
You don't want to be like, oh, this is your mommy. Like, it's weird.
But then I don't know how you deal with that shit. Because, like, yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, they're little. But then what? When they get older, you'd be like, oh, that person that I said was your friend forever or my friend forever, that's actually your mom. What's more fucked up?
But also, is she their mom?
I don't know. Did she carry them? Or we don't even have pictures of her pregnant, huh?
She carried them.
Yeah, but she might not be their mom.
She might not be their mom, yeah.
I think she looks like Prince. Like, Prince and her look...
Maybe. That could be a thing.
She's weird.
She's a weirdo.
She's really, like, it's just like the choice of woman too that he picked, right? Like Michael Jackson, who could probably have any fucking woman.
Yeah. Not even like have any woman, but just like he knows so many people to be to donate it. I'm sure if he like asked Naomi Campbell, or like she would do it.
Ooh, actually, Debbie Rowe looks a lot like Paris in this picture I just found.
Current Paris or like Paris when she was like a kid?
Current Paris.
Really?
Yeah. She's pretty. She's like, I actually like her.
I've seen like some magazine covers where she looks really pretty.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
she looks like young Madonna.
Yeah, she looks like she could be Madonna's baby.
Yeah. But we know she didn't do that shit. Yeah. Yeah, she's pretty. She's got like that she's got like a cool like olive tone to her skin.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I heard that they were trying to get her to play Madonna in a biopic, which I don't know if I want to see a Madonna biopic.
Yeah, let's not do that.
You think we'll ever get a Michael Jackson biopic?
No.
There's too much drama in figuring out who's going to play him.
And like the scandals are too dark. Like, how could they portray that?
And too ambiguous too. Like,
Yeah, it'd
we
be
don't
like a
know.
rated X movie.
Well, we don't know what happened for sure, you know? So unless like some
just,
video come out or something,
yeah.
like, then, you know, you have to take a side, I guess.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know. I kind of don't want to take a side, but like, I know what my gut tells me.
Man, you hella took a side this whole time.
That's what my gut tells me, but would I convict him? No.
I wouldn't. I don't know though. And just like makes me so sad. I like don't want to believe it too. That's the problem. And it's like he could never get a fair trial. Like there's no fucking way.
I mean, he got off. That's fair.
You
know?
No, that's what I mean. Like I don't think like the public loves him so much he could never get a fair trial. Like yeah, I think he would always get off. Like who the fuck is going to convict him? Maybe now, but not then.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that too, like in the Me Too era, how
this would have all gone down.
Yeah.
But like, look at Woody Allen. That fool's fucking out there. He's popping. He's balling. You know.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, people don't give a fuck.
Working with Kate Winslet.
Yeah.
So Debbie eventually petitioned Michael, and the courts to see them 8 times a year after a long like custody battle. But Michael wasn't too worried about it because he told his friends that he'd bought the rights to the kids.
Ooh.
Debbie later made a statement to the cops where she kind of like alluded to him being like a sociopath who regarded everything as property and children as property. Like these are his, not only his kids, but all kids. Like these are mine.
He's got an ego.
Yeah, he's got an ego, of course. Yeah. And I mean, like, you kind of have to, right?
Yeah.
To be at those heights.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Michael's lawyers also sort of implied that she wasn't even the biological mother of the kids in court when they were trying to limit her contact with them. So, who knows?
Mm-hmm.
So at this point, you'd think that most of Michael's troubles would be behind him. He's several years removed from his very public sexual assault allegations.
Yeah.
He's out of 2 marriages that the public considered very weird.
Mm-hmm.
He's got 2 kids, which is seemingly all he ever wanted, and he's apparently working on new music. So
you could turn this shit around.
Yeah.
So you could turn it all around, dude.
On the surface, things are looking up.
Looking up.
Everything's coming up, Millhouse.
Yeah. This is what I'm with you. Like anybody who has half a brain cell would be like, okay, like I have to change everything because I need to protect myself from this never happening again.
Right. And also, if you love kids so much,
you don't want to be associated or like even like considered, you know?
Right. And you don't want to put them in that situation where they would have people think that or
like have to defend you.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So this is exactly like you're saying, like this is kind of what in my gut tells me, like if I had a little boy, I wouldn't want him around him.
Yeah, no, because the whole thing seems like a little grooming scenario.
Yes.
His house, his foundation, everything.
So things are looking up, but behind the scenes, things are really, really starting to fall apart financially for Michael, which sort of signaled the beginning of the end for him.
Mm-hmm.
In 1998, according to court filings, he had cash on hand to cover only 2 more months of his expenses.
Ooh.
Which at that time was a minimum of $1.2 million a month.
That's the thing is like...
How much money, you know how much money he was making in the 80s? Would you say like $100 million for like one tour or something?
At least, so like for the Thriller album, he made $2 per sale and the album sold 110 million copies. Yeah. So he made like at least 200 million off the album sales alone, not including everything else.
Yeah.
So he's probably like close to $1 billion, right?
Yeah,
at some points.
Yeah. I think I saw that, you know, those estimations can be like wild. Like they're really varied.
But and they take into account property and shit.
Yes. They were saying that while he was alive, he probably earned in excess of like $700 million or something like that.
That sounds right.
Yeah, that could be about right.
Yeah. He did give a lot of money away too. Like he really did. He donated a lot.
He did. However, court documents showed that towards the end of his life, at least like since like the late 90s, a lot of the times he wasn't donating at all, and things that he was on some shit, dude.
Oh, really?
Like he was saying like money's gonna go to this, but never did. He wasn't spending it on himself or anything. It wasn't like that, but
he just didn't have money.
Right.
Yeah.
But he was saying, like, he was pretending
he was gonna have this money for these foundations or something.
Yes.
The thing is too, like, that people blow up and then they start living this like lavish lifestyle that is so unreasonable. Like, you're never gonna be able to keep that up for the rest of your life.
Right.
Like, the thought that you're gonna make like 10 more Thrillers is like so stupid.
Meanwhile, you're still spending as if you're churning out a Thriller every year.
Yeah, you can't do that shit.
Since 1995, he had burned through $90 million in loans, and in December 1998, he secured a new Bank of America loan for $140 million.
Oh my gosh!
This is all against the collateral of his Sony ATV catalog, though, which, as we know, includes like the Beatles song catalog.
Yeah,
but by mid 1999. So mind you, he got this loan in December 1998. By mid 1999, he had exhausted the $140 million loan.
So 6 months.
Yes. And needed additional funds for his divorce settlement because he had to shut Debbie up. Yeah, so he gave her $10 million.
Gosh.
And also, there are settlements that we don't have a whole lot of information about, but we know that they existed because of court filings due to his like financial situation.
Yeah.
He gave one boy's family like $3 million, another boy's family $1 million.
Yeah.
He gave his head of security, I think he gave him like $7 million.
Yeah.
To just go away. He gave one of his,
because his housekeepers started saying shit too. Yes, remember? That's how we found out that he was like actually sleeping in the beds with the kids.
Yes.
And that they would share alcohol, right? Like I want to say a housekeeper said that, all that tea.
Because he touched her kid, her son.
Really?
Yes. Allegedly, he touched her son. So he paid her like $3 million. But that kid is super fucked up. Like he testified in the 2005 trial, and he said like, yes, that happened, and you know it's one of the most horrifying ordeals that has ever happened to me, and it's really sad actually. He was like, I've never even been able to say this to my wife or my children, but this has been like the worst thing that could happen to a human being, and it happened to me. But his mom never gave him any of the money. He didn't even know that she had gotten a settlement until like right before he was set to testify.
Oh my God.
And there was another housekeeper who was like, not a housekeeper, but more like the person that ran the house. Like if it was Downton Abbey, it would be like Mrs. Patmore or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It was like her
the manager.
Yeah, it was like the manager of the house. She moved to Greece, and there was like a special fund that wasn't to be touched that went like straight to her every month for her to like shut up too.
Wow.
Because she had seen, the tea is that she walked in on something.
Oh, wow.
That's the speculation, but no one can confirm that, and she's not talking. But that was one of the things, like Michael was not paying his bills, but there were certain bills that he had to be paid like that he would never miss.
Right.
So Michael got another loan of $30 million, which basically evaporated. So he got another loan of $60 million in December 2000 on the condition that he must immediately pay down the previous $30 million loan.
Jesus.
So basically he's around $320 million in the hole by the end of the year 2000. That's how rich I want to be, dude. I want to be rich enough to be like several $100 million in debt.
Getting loans approved for over $100 million? That's fucking crazy. I got family members that can't get loans approved for like $10,000. Okay? Hey, this motherfucker's getting a loan for $190 million. That's fucking wild.
Woo. Okay, jump on. Okay. So this is where the famous Sony song catalog comes into play. At this point, he owns half of the catalog along with Sony, and is without a doubt his biggest asset, and as we know, includes the very lucrative Beatles songbook and hundreds of other songs. Just one of the lesser hits in that catalog could easily return $200,000 in royalties annually.
That's crazy.
And Sony guaranteed Michael a royalty of no less than $6.5 million per year for his share for the first 7 years of their contract. So This is like, he's not really working. This is the only thing that's actively making him money.
That's when they say like, don't work for your money, let your money work for you. That's like exactly financial 101.
Right.
If you have extra money, invest, baby.
Right. It's fucked up that only like super rich people
can do shit like that. I know, it makes me so fucking mad.
So At the time, estimates of how much the Sony catalog was worth ranged from 700 million to 1 billion, although I think the newer estimates are much higher than that.
Don't Paris and Prince own these now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So even on the low end of the estimate, if he were to sell his half, you would think it would be enough to get Michael out of debt because he's like 320 million in debt, and like
Right.
let's say it's worth 700 million, he'd have 350 million right there.
Right. That's basic. I'm not a mathematician, but that shit added up, man.
And you'd figure that he'd be fine as long as he controlled his spending and, maybe even got back to work.
Stopped having to fucking settle out people on the low.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, if he got back to work, like, maybe money would start coming in again, like, if he sold.
Yeah.
However, if he were ever forced to sell his half, like, if it ever got that bad, which it did get that bad, but he didn't sell, he would likely end up owing a shit ton of capital gains taxes that he wouldn't have enough money to pay.
Oh my God.
So it was like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. He had no choice. Like, he couldn't sell.
Right.
Which sucks because that kind of also puts like his kids in a position like they can never sell because maybe now they have enough money to pay the taxes.
They probably have better control. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, they're probably not giving out settlements and living a crazy life. Which I'm excited to keep listening to you because I don't know what happened with Neverland either.
Neverland. See, the thing with Neverland is that at that time, no, not around this time. But I'm just going to say, because I didn't write about it.
All right.
Is like shortly after this second trial, he has to shut it down because it's cost too much to maintain.
Yeah, it's wild.
And they were coming in to like repossess like the Ferris wheels and like all that bullshit. And you need too big of a staff to maintain it and stuff.
Yeah.
And they were saying that he could have sold it for maybe like 60 million, but the amount of repairs and like what you needed to do to like clean that place up, like it almost was worth nothing, basically. Yeah. Like, really, like once you got like down in the dirt and figured out what you had to do to make it habitable and like sell it to somebody, it would cost too much money to do it.
Wow.
So eventually he ends up shutting it down like close to the end of his life. That's why he didn't live there anymore. And not selling it, but just shutting it down and like letting it sort of like deteriorate. And I think last I heard, last year they're trying to sell it for like $100 million or something.
But it's still owned by his family?
Yes, by the trust. Or actually, I think that they used it to pay back some of the debt. After his death, like they needed to like start paying off debt, and they just like gave it away to the bank.
Wow.
So I think we should get news about what happens to it pretty soon.
Yeah.
Okay. Meanwhile, it took 3 years to produce his latest album, Invincible, which was released in October 2001. And at the time sold 6 million copies, which was
rock my world, right?
My world,
that song's good. That video's good. Chris
Tucker.
Yeah, there you go.
It's got butterflies.
Yeah. Oh, I like Butterflies. That song's good.
Yeah, but the Flowetry version.
Yeah,
that's the definitive version right there.
Hell yeah.
I'm surprised Michael doesn't do more covers than that because I feel like that's a pretty successful cover. Like,
yeah, for sure.
Do that shit. Okay. Anyway, so it sold 6 million copies, which was pretty good, but was way, way less than they'd expected based on his previous album sales.
Yeah, come on.
So it didn't turn a profit because Michael spent a ridiculous amount of money to produce it. Each album since Thriller in 1982 had cost more to produce and sold fewer copies than the one before it. So they were each becoming less and less profitable. At the time, Invincible was the most expensive album ever made at $40 million.
Oh my gosh.
It probably still is the most expensive. I didn't look it up. But considering album sales have been dropping for like 20 years, I can't imagine anyone else pouring that kind of cash into an album ever again. So,
yeah.
In addition, Sony spent $25 million to promote it. Jesus. So $65 million on that album. And yeah, they made not even half of that back.
Yeah.
So after the failure of this album, Sony was kind of done with him because like he's just got all this bullshit, all this drama, and
a lot of baggage, and it's not even worth it anymore.
Right. A Sony executive said, quote, "He's a drain, a money pit." So like Yeah. And he was kind of like not feeling them either.
Mm-hmm.
So he like low-key wanted out of his contract. In the summer of 2002, Michael took part in a protest outside of Sony headquarters.
I remember this.
With the Reverend Al Sharpton.
Yeah.
During which he accused the Sony chairman, Tommy Mottola, the then Sony chairman, Tommy Mottola, of being racist.
Mm-hmm.
Michael told the crowd, quote, "He's very, very, very devilish." He claimed that Sony had not done enough to promote Invincible.
Ooh.
And he was discriminating, and they were discriminating against him because he was black.
Wow.
Sony suspected that what he really wanted to do was be let off the hook for the production costs of the album, which was $65 million.
Yeah.
So they really went after Michael and defended Tommy Mottola by citing how much he'd invested in other black artists in hip hop and his previous marriage to Mariah Carey, who's half black.
Yeah.
Which, I feel some type of way about that because
I know, me too. Like lauding that in front of people. Like, I got plenty of black friends.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I don't either. That's bullshit.
And, racists can marry people and be in relationships with people who they're racist against.
Yeah.
It's part of the abuse. Yeah, I'm not saying that Tommy Mottola is or isn't racist. I just don't like that reasoning that they use.
Yeah, me either. Tommy Mottola is Italian?
That sounds like an Italian name. And he's very he claims to be mobbed up. When it's convenient for him, he's very mobbed up.
That's funny.
So the bottom line is that Michael was still draining money. He was spending money on stupid shit, like $150,000 to a voodoo chief to sacrifice 42 cows to put a curse on Michael's perceived enemies, notably Steven Spielberg, who he was beefing with for some reason. Which is weird because at one point, like in the early 90s, he was accused of being
homies.
Anti-Semitic. Because he
Who, Michael?
Yeah. In one of his songs he says like Jew me, sue me, something something kike me. Like
Ooh.
He was forced to change the lyrics after that. And some people are saying the tea is that was against the Chandler family because they're Jewish and they were suing him and it was all at the same time.
That's that song. All I want to say is they don't really care about us.
Yeah. So he had to change the lyrics. Anyway, at some point, like people were accusing him of being anti-Semitic, and he was like, "My best friends are Jewish." Steven Spielberg,
once again,
Jeffrey Katzenberg,
Rosenberg, some other birds up in here.
And I think I mentioned this before. He was giving $10,000 a month to his family. I mean, to his pharmacy. Sorry.
Right.
So
he was drug dealers.
To his drug dealers, because he was, spending hella money on that.
he was on drugs,
and he would ask like hella people to acquire drugs for him, like his bodyguards, different doctors. Like he was drug seeking behavior. So also he was being sued for millions by a bunch of people left and right for failing to follow through with business agreements and canceling concerts. And this was around the time that he started looking really, really bad. Like he'd looked bad for a while, obviously, but around this time he'd appear in court for these lawsuits. His nose had literally fallen off and he was wearing like a prosthetic tip on his nose.
Mm-hmm. There's that shot of like the tape on the tip of his nose.
Yeah.
Right? Like peeling.
Yeah.
So he didn't have a nose already at this time, right?
Right.
Okay.
He didn't have one. This is like, who was doing this? What like sleazy ass doctor was doing this to him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Conrad Murray. I mean, like
he wasn't his
plastic surgeon, but like where like ethically, like how the fuck could you be a plastic surgeon and be like, yeah, I'll do your 10th fucking rhinoplasty?
Or I wonder if everyone thought I could fix it, Maybe not though.
You know what I think too is like when his nose fell off and shit, like he's so fucking far gone, like he doesn't have hair.
Yeah.
His fucking nose fell off. He's fucking skinny.
Yeah.
Did he think I'm gonna die? Like, don't you at one point think like I need to take care of myself or I'm not gonna fucking live?
Right.
Or is he just like so far gone from reality that he thought like I'll just do this forever, like it'll be fine?
Yeah, I think that was probably it, and I think that it was his ego that let him do that too. He was like, I just keep doing whatever.
Yeah, I'll just keep doing drugs and not eating and dancing and putting this fake nose on my fucking face.
I'm the king of pop. I can do whatever I want.
Yeah,
Enter Martin Bashir, who had made some waves years earlier because of an infamous revealing and extensive interview he'd done with Princess Diana.
Right.
He approached Michael in 2002 about following him around with cameras for a few months so that the public could see the real him, and he could set the record straight and start getting his life back on track. The trouble was that Martin was very cunning and manipulative, and setting the record straight about Michael basically meant showing the world that he was definitely, without a doubt, a weirdo.
Yeah.
Maybe strung out on drugs, and definitely still having, at the minimum, inappropriate relationships with young boys.
Right.
The extent of the inappropriateness is up for debate, I guess, but anyway, here we go. In the now infamous Martin Bashir documentary, Living with Michael Jackson, Michael introduces us to his third and youngest child, Prince Michael II, who he calls Blanket.
Yeah.
The documentary crew caught behind-the-scenes footage of an incident which made headlines around the world, in which Michael dangles baby Blanket off of a balcony in Germany to show him to a crowd of screaming fans below. It's incredibly dangerous and a dumb move on Michael's part.
It's really scary.
Although I want to say I'm not defending what he did. It's indefensible, obviously. But parents do crazy shit with their kids all the time. Like,
yeah, and then another thing is like you know how they're like, yeah, your first kid, you're all careful. By your third kid, you're like, yeah, whatever.
Right. That's what I was thinking. There's like those kids whose parents are performers in the circus and like they're on trampolines and trapezes and stuff, you know?
It's just weird that he had to throw him over the ledge like the way that he did. Because if he wanted to show him off, all he had to do was come out on the balcony with him. It's not like he's showing anybody his fucking face, right?
Yes, exactly.
Just the whole move was sketchy.
It was so dangerous too because he's very concerned about keeping his face covered. So he's got like one hand. He's only basically holding the kid by one hand because he's using another hand to cover him with
his face with some like sheer
a sheer thing
scarf that he uses.
So
I don't like that, but I will say that it really looked like Michael loved his kids a lot.
Yes.
I don't think Michael was trying to hurt him or anything like that. Like, was it careless? Absolutely, but
for sure.
You know, like I don't think that he could possibly think that anything bad was going to happen to him.
Right. That's exactly my take on it. Yeah. Because I was thinking about like, you know, I'm sure like when I was a kid in Guatemala, there are no rules out there. Like,
fuck no.
I bet I was put in hella dangerous situations left and right. It's the Wild West in the 80s, early 90s. Fuck.
Dude, when I was little, I used to play outside all fucking day.
Yeah.
My parents never were like, what the fuck are you playing with? What are you doing? Like, who are you with? You know, like I would just like go on my bike and like fuck around, come back when I was hungry, go back out. You know, like it was like.
Yeah, so I mean,
walking around the neighborhood without supervision, like
it was bad, but insane.
It wasn't like no. It did blow up like slightly more than it fucking needed to.
Yes. My biggest concern, and perhaps the thing that disturbed me the most in a documentary chock full of disturbing moment after disturbing moment, is what happens in the hotel room immediately after the dangling incident. Martin is sort of asking Michael what the fuck just happened.
I didn't finish the documentary.
Okay.
Because it kind of like started. I don't really like Martin. He seems like a
he's sleazy.
He's sleazy to me, and like there were a lot of things in the beginning when Michael, and for my purposes, like the beginning was the most important when he's talking about his childhood and stuff.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of times when like I don't like when reporters do this to celebrities where like they don't want to talk about something obviously, and they're like pushing and pushing and pushing. Yeah. And I could see Michael getting uncomfortable with him like right off the bat. Like he starts asking him stuff and he makes him cry. That's what pissed me off.
Yeah.
Because he's talking to him about Joe and he's like, oh, how did that make you feel? Or like, and it's like, what do you mean? How did it make him feel? Like my dad beat the shit out of me, you know?
Yeah,
and then Michael starts crying and he's like, why are you crying? And it's like, fuck, leave him alone. Like, you know, like he's suffered so much as a kid. Anyways.
You're just like adding to his suffering. There's no.
Yeah. Like what's the point of this? Other than just you want to fucking get a good ass documentary for your own fucking selfish ass reasoning. And I don't know. Anyways, that's my take on that.
So
living with Michael Jackson.
When did you stop watching?
I stopped watching like they're still in Vegas and Michael, he introduces him already to Paris and Prince and Blanket. And that's what I thought was really great too. Like you do see Michael, like he loves his kids.
Yeah.
And he's like really sweet to them. And like he's really nice to his fans too.
Yeah.
He like stops and like he signs autographs for everybody. He talks to people. He hugs them. People tell them, I love you a lot.
Yeah.
And he's like, I love you too. I love you too. You know, like I stopped watching like at one point there in Vegas and some girl like wants to get in his limo to give him a hug.
Oh yeah. And he lets her
and she starts crying and stuff. And he's like, I love you. Don't cry. And
yeah,
that's like about where I stopped watching. I want to finish it though.
It's so weird. Those people are like fainting and crying and stuff.
Yeah. I don't get that level of fandom, but we're from fucking SoCal, May. Like, we're fucking too cool for shit, you know? Like, oh, that's Michael Jackson? Whatever.
Where's Tito?
You mean Thriller? Whatever. I don't even like Thriller. What'd you say earlier? You like Off the Wall?
I like Off the Wall.
That's some LA shit, man. That's some, like, where you're too cool. I heard...
I like your old shit better.
Yeah, I really prefer the other version of Butterflies, not Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Mike D, the Beastie Boys were on Jimmy Fallon promoting some book they made. And Mike D was talking about how, like, oh, yeah, when you're in New York, like, you're too cool for shit, you know? And I started dying because I was like, that's me and my friends.
So we're immediately after the dangling incident, and Martin Bashir's like, you know, what was that?
Why did you do that? What the fuck were you thinking?
And Michael is, like, clearly, visibly cracked out. Like, he's high. He's high as fuck. And Lisa Marie says that when she saw that, she was like, what the fuck? Like, he's high, you know?
Yeah.
So he's holding blanket and trying to force feed him a bottle. And he's all jittery and nervous. And I think the adrenaline is also pumping because he realized that he just did something very stupid and very dangerous with his baby who he loves so much.
So much, yeah.
But at the same time, he's trying to defend and justify it to Martin. And it's like, it's really horrifying. For a moment, he gets frustrated that Blanket isn't taking the bottle.
Yeah, and he's like moving that little sheer thing. I did watch this part.
And he's so speedy and fucked up that, like, I really worried that he might do something to the baby for a split second.
Because his hand is, like, shaky.
Yes. And in that split second, a million things ran through my mind. Like, is he about to scream at the baby or shake the baby or throw the baby or something, you know? Like, I don't know. It was like, he was so clearly out of his mind at that moment that it was almost like anything could happen. And I really, really, really hate that moment. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't.
It's so raw, right?
Yeah, it's raw.
Yeah.
I think I saw it years ago, and then this is the second time I'm seeing it. Like, I don't think I could see that moment again.
Yeah.
I don't shake easily, but that moment, like, really left me kind of shaken.
It's a fucking newborn.
Yeah. So the press and the whole world really go after him for the dangling incident in a way that he wasn't used to. Other things he'd done, he could deny or explain away, but this was on video, so there was no escaping this.
Doesn't he, like, write on a pillow and throw a pillow out there for them, too?
Yeah.
Like, he kind of, like, relishes in all the love that his fans give him.
Yeah. Because think about it. This has been his life since he was 6 years old.
Yeah, so he needs it.
Yeah. The documentary shows how the next day he tries to do some damage control by taking his kids to the zoo.
Oh, yeah.
But that goes to shit because they're mobbed by paparazzi because of the dangling incident. And it's really distressing to the kids. And Michael seems oblivious to it and just goes along like nothing's wrong, talking about how much he loves the gorillas.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he's losing track of Prince in the crowd. Paris gets poked in the eye by an umbrella. It was a mess. And the press accuse him of child endangerment. And
Martin asks him, like, oh, you know, didn't you think it would have been better not to do that?
Yeah.
Like, not to go?
Yeah.
Or not be with them? Like, let them enjoy the zoo with whoever?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, Prince got poked in the eye. And he's like, no, he didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he was, like, weird. In his own world.
Yeah. Mm.
So later, Martin tries to get Michael to spill the tea on his plastic surgery, and he basically denies everything, claiming that any changes to his appearance are due to puberty.
Uh-huh.
Do you believe that Conrad Murray claims that Michael was chemically castrated as a kid?
What?
Yeah, he wrote that in his book.
To keep his voice high? His voice is hella high.
It's so high.
And they did do that to, like, choir boys and shit, right?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's interesting. I don't know that. I didn't know that.
Which would also explain why he has a hard time. He didn't really go through a real puberty, and he has a hard time, like, sexually
talking about
with
sex
women.
And ooh,
yeah,
that's a vibe. I'm so glad I like my nose, dude.
Yeah, because that could be a whole ass thing.
Yeah.
I don't like mine now that I found out it's broken.
Shut up, it's cute. I like it. But I could have a real bad nose. Bitches pay for my nose.
Hey! That's a vibe right there.
That's a vibe. I do like my nose. Oh, God.
So there's also a weird part where he describes the birth of Paris. He says that as she came out, he grabbed her before they were even able to wash or cover her or anything. And he grabbed her and ran away with her, where she was finally attended to back at his house, like, you know, an hour later or whatever. He says he was just so scared that the doctors would say that there was something wrong with her that he wanted to take her away before they could.
If there's something wrong with her, whether they say it or not, baby, you
It's
got to take care of it.
gotta-
Like, what?
That's just another example of like how
He's disassociated.
Yeah. And Martin asked him, was Debbie okay with that? He was like, of course.
Yeah, and then that's when he like asked like how long after did Debbie meet her baby, right? And
Yeah.
Michael can't give an answer because
Yeah.
it was like fucking years later.
Right. But the earth-shattering moment was a segment in the documentary in which Michael appears hand in hand with a young boy. Michael volunteers unprompted that he loves sharing his bed with children. Quote, I sleep in the bed with all of them, he says. Quote, then we wake up at like dawn and go in the hot air balloon. It's very right. It's very loving. That's what the world needs now. More love, more heart. Martin asks him, quote, the world needs a man who's 44 sleeping in bed with children? And Michael replies, no, you're making it all wrong. That's wrong, because what's wrong with sharing love? The young boy tells Martin that Michael tells him, quote, if you love me, you'll sleep in my bed. Michael makes it a point to say that he sleeps on the floor.
Huh?
That he himself sleeps on the floor, like that he offers his bed to the boy and he sleeps on the floor.
He's like backpedaling?
Yeah, he's backpedaling. The boy, a cancer survivor, gushes about how great Michael is to him and how Michael understands kids because he's a kid at heart, all while holding his hand and putting his head on his shoulder. He's like really docile. And,
yeah.
You know? It would be awkward and uncomfortable. It would be an awkward and uncomfortable scene if it were anyone, but like the fact that it's a
strange man. Yeah.
It makes it 100 times worse. When ABC aired the documentary in February 2003, it was seen by 27 million people in the U.S. alone.
I remember when this shit came out.
Me too.
It was a big ass deal.
Yeah. Ugh. And it was still like early, like this was like still before the internet, really.
Yeah.
So, like,
it might have been like first generation DirecTV recording.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe not, because I remember it being a big deal when they played it again.
Yeah.
Like 2 weeks later or something.
Yeah, you had to catch that shit when it was on.
So the backlash was instant. Calls started coming into Child Protective Services because people were worried about the well-being of Michael's 3 kids and the young boy who shared his bed. Michael and his team went into damage control. Michael had the rights to Martin Bashir's outtakes, which he sold to Fox for $5 million. That's cunning right there. That's the businessman in him.
Yeah.
He sold it to Fox for $5 million, which Michael believes served as a rebuttal to Bashir's documentary.
Right.
But really, it just showed that Martin Bashir was an asshole. Like,
yeah. Like, it didn't really help Michael. It just showed the side of Martin that he didn't want to show.
Yes, exactly. It showed how he sort of egged Michael on to keep saying crazy shit by agreeing with him.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that Michael wasn't already saying crazy shit, you know?
Right, of course. And it showed Martin, like, yeah, because he would, like, praise Michael a lot.
Yes.
And so Michael thought, like, you know, this is somebody who loves me.
Right.
Who, you know, he fucking grooming him, too.
Yeah, he is.
It's weird.
So,
and also, Martin Bashir, by the way, like, this fool is, like, fucking high up, right?
What do you mean?
Like, now, as a reporter, he's still, like...
Oh, yeah, I think he still, like, works with, like, CNN or something.
Yeah, I think he's, like, high up at CNN, like, for the UK and shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
I don't like that guy. I don't know why. I mean, I know why.
Yeah. But he, he's good at his job, dude.
Yeah.
So the rebuttal also included a scene where Debbie Rowe said she would, quote, gift Michael 5 more children in a heartbeat. Which was weird because they were in the middle of this years-long custody battle.
Yeah. Which, like, her intentions, I think, more so had to do with money. Like, I don't think she
really... For sure.
Yeah, it was not to do with the children. Like, she just wanted to pull money out of Michael.
Right. The reaction to the documentary was very unexpected for Michael. Some reports say that later that year, he attempted a morphine overdose.
Oh.
He also started talking to his family again, most of whom he'd been estranged from.
Yeah.
So he wasn't really fucking with most of his brothers. I think only Marlon.
Janet always, right?
Janet always. But even then, like, they weren't close. They just weren't beefing, you know?
Yeah.
There was one thing that one of his bodyguards said that, like, at one point, Tito came to get money, but there was no money, you know? So Tito was fucking pissed, and he drove his car through the gate because they wouldn't let him in. Because, first of all, they didn't have anything to talk about because there was no money, so he wasn't going to get money. So they were like, no, you can't come in. And he drove his car through the gate at the house where they were staying.
God damn.
I was just thinking that his story is so crazy. Like, we're not even going to have time to talk about, like,
no,
the batshit anniversary concert from September 10th, 2001.
Yep.
Which we talked about when we were talking about how Elizabeth Taylor used it to flex on Debbie Reynolds.
Yep.
That concert had hella drama because Whitney Houston shows up. Okay, that's got to be like an afternoon delight or something.
Yep.
We haven't talked about how Michael and Elizabeth Taylor were like drug buddies, or how they were like the best man and maid of honor at Liza's
I forgot
wedding.
about that. Yeah.
Oh, Liza's wedding. Okay.
Yeah, Liza's wedding.
I do. So Michael,
she kicked her fucking leg up and shit.
So Michael originally met the boy when he was 10 and weeks away from dying of cancer.
The boy in the documentary.
Yes. He was, we'll call him either the boy or accuser number 2.
Okay.
He was asked by an acquaintance of his mother's, Jamie Masada, who owned the Laugh Factory, who he wanted to meet. And number 1 was Adam Sandler. Number 2 was Chris Tucker. And while they were talking in the hospital on the TV screen behind him, Michael Jackson was like coincidentally on screen, and he was like, "Oh, and Michael Jackson."
Oh my gosh. Adam Sandler, where were you?
So Jamie hooks it up for him to meet Adam on the studio lot.
Oh, okay.
And he actually did meet Chris Tucker also eventually, and actually introduced Chris Tucker to Michael.
Wow.
So this kid meets all the comics at the Laugh Factory, where they also all did like benefit shows for him and stuff, because like obviously his treatment was like hella expensive.
Right.
That's where he meets Jay Leno and George Lopez, who end up testifying at the trial.
Wow.
And he also gets a few phone calls from Michael. Meanwhile, he starts to pretty much miraculously recover, because up until then, the kid was like riddled with cancer and the chemotherapy wasn't working.
Wow.
So shout out to his doctors for being the real fucking MVPs and never giving up on him.
Seriously.
So anyway, the kid recovers, and Michael has him and his family up to Neverland, where the kid and his brother sleep in Michael's room. And the mom and the sister would sleep away in the guest house because Michael told the boys that, quote, girls are tattletales.
Oh.
P.S. This boy's mother and father had a very volatile relationship and were no longer together, which is a common theme among boys with whom Michael is alleged to have had inappropriate or criminal relationships with.
Same with the first accuser.
I
mean, it makes it easier if you only have one parent to deal with, right?
Yes, exactly. And he also, well, I don't know, like, but what psychologists and psychiatrists say regarding people who seek out children to abuse is that this is one thing that they always look out for, because they make it so that they can manipulate the children. Like, I don't know, that you don't want your daddy to take you away from your mommy or something, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So Michael and the boy become close, and when the documentary crew came to Neverland, he allegedly told the boy that if he made him look good, he would help him get into show business.
Oh.
So the boy did his best, and they both thought that he'd done a good job until the documentary aired.
And that shit was creepy.
Then, according to the mother, Michael flew the boy and his mom to Florida under the guise of doing a press conference on his behalf. She said that she was only invited to go after she made it clear that the boy wasn't going to go without her and his other siblings. It was on the airplane back home when Michael allegedly gave the boy wine out of a Coke can with, like, witnesses that saw it.
Uh-huh.
The boy says he referred to the wine as Jesus juice.
Oh.
Michael's business manager says that Michael would often drink wine in secret this way, and that only a small circle of people knew that he would do this, and that he referred to it as Jesus juice. So he says when he heard the boy say that, like, he was fucking shook.
Yeah, he was like, oh, he drank the wine.
Yeah.
I remember that, actually, that he would drink wine in secret because he didn't want his kids to know or some shit.
Well, he didn't, because he's an addict. He didn't want anybody to really know.
Oh, okay. Shit.
There were times where, like, he would always do that on airplanes, they said. Like, sometimes they would have to, like, carry him out of an airplane because he was, like, so fucking gone. And then, like, somebody asked him, like, we only saw him, like, sneaking the wine, but he was also, on, like, pills
on
and
drugs
stuff.
And shit, yeah.
So anyway, the business manager said that, like, he had always been, like, Team Michael, but then when he heard the kid say that, he was like, oh, fuck. That's not something that he would have known.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the mom is just doing whatever Michael asked of her, because she says that she and the boy were just so thankful for everything he'd done for them so far. Like, she didn't want to think anything bad of him.
Right.
So when Child Services wanted to interview her, she quickly let Michael's people know. and they tried to get her to tape the interview, which she refused.
Uh-huh.
But Michael's people told her that they would move her and her whole family to Brazil for their own protection because they were receiving all this attention and even threats.
Following the documentary and stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So she pulls the kids from school and puts them in another school and essentially moves to Neverland while everything gets worked out.
Wow.
By this time, Michael had already hired high-profile criminal defense attorney Mark Garagos, which was kind of weird because everything was cool between him and the family up until this point.
Yeah. Hey, talk about Mark Garagos, man.
Oh, yeah.
That guy. We should have an episode just on celebrity attorneys.
Yeah, and like their famous cases.
Yeah. Mark Garagos did Winona Ryder, right?
Yeah.
MJ.
The reason he got fired off of Michael's case was because he was busy with Scott Peterson.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Chris Brown. Who else? Oh, David Carradine. Like the family of David Carradine.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh. Wonder why. Okay, so Michael's people have the whole family's important documents, allegedly because they were going to get passports and visas for them to move to Brazil. But the mom says she didn't get nervous until she found out that somehow at the boys' school, the emergency contact was changed to someone on Michael's staff.
What?
So she started to feel like real sketch about being at Neverland.
Yeah.
And she eventually tells the police, and at trial, she says that she felt like a prisoner. She felt like she had been kidnapped.
Oh.
And so...
Wow.
His people...
But she could leave, right?
She could leave. That was kind of like why the jury didn't believe her, because she ends up like calling she gets a massage and like a wax at Neverland. And they're like, really? Like, are you doing that shit while you're quote unquote held hostage? Yeah.
Yeah, no.
But there was a thing where like they were gonna move them, they were gonna ship them off to Brazil pretty much, or at least claiming they were going to. So they like Michael's people cleaned out her apartment, her and all her kids' stuff, and they held it in storage for her and like wouldn't give it to her.
That's weird.
It's very weird. And then her parents, her grandparents, I mean the kids' grandparents, who I think lived in like East LA somewhere, they were like Mexicans. They didn't speak English at all. Like they said that people were coming to their house and harassing them, like throwing rocks through their window, and they were sure that it was like Michael's people. Because she acquired counsel, she acquired an attorney who ended up being the same attorney as that defended the first accuser. And she says that as soon as she acquired the attorney, that all that shit stopped. Because he sent a cease and desist to Michael's people. So this shit is like spiraling out of control. She eventually manages to quote unquote escape Neverland. And she, along with the district attorney, which was the same district attorney from the first case, the district attorney like pretty much makes her promise that she's not going to receive money or take a settlement from Michael.
Because that happened with the first family.
And that's why the district attorney, thinks that the first case got away with from him, because after they got the money, then
they bounced.
Yeah. Why would you even testify? Put yourself through that.
That's what I think. Because a lot of people were saying like, oh, they fucking like it's indicative that they got the settlement and then they bounced. So that's indicative that they were just in it for money. But I don't agree. Like, why would you put your child through, that testimony?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Exactly.
But I mean, I see both sides too. Because then like also like, don't you want this person to be behind bars also?
That's what Janet says, remember?
Right. And that I see that too, but I don't know. At some point, I think things get really hard for people also to deal with.
Right. And what, as a parent, if something did happen to your child, you want to do the least amount of more damage, right?
To them.
Which could possibly be just like
walking away.
Just walk away, right?
Yeah.
Put him in therapy and like walk away.
Yeah.
So Michael during this time is like claiming like, oh, people are just out to get me. It's a big conspiracy. He says, and the family says, Jermaine is on record as saying this. And also, Paris alludes to this now that she's an adult, and Lisa Marie, that they think that this was all sort of trumped up to try to get his catalog because it was worth upwards of $1 billion.
Who was going to get his catalog?
Sony, Tommy Mottola, everybody, all the music industry conspired with this family to like trump up these charges.
Yeah.
So that he would either go to jail or be disgraced enough and bankrupt enough to sell his catalog. It's a big conspiracy theory about his death.
Wow.
And like I kind of alluded to, Tommy Mottola's kind of mobbed up.
Mhm.
So like they were kind of saying like this was a vast conspiracy.
Wow.
So the district attorney ends up sweeping his house, Neverland, and
So now the family told the police, right?
yeah, they told the police,
Okay.
and they do a sweep of Neverland.
But they told the police what? Just that they felt trapped, or they told the police that
That they felt trapped, and then the police interviewed the child, and he, and along with his brother, who's a witness to some of the abuse, say that they were
it happened?
that it happened. Yes.
Okay.
So they do a sweep of Neverland in which, much like the first time, they find a lot of pornography. They find
Was it pornography the second time, or was it just like books with pictures of
pornography, like titty magazines?
Oh, okay.
Barely legal type stuff.
Okay. I thought you meant like child pornography.
No, but they did
Okay.
find a specific book which the police and the FBI say is commonly found in the homes of child molesters, of
Lolita?
and people who have child pornography. It's like it's like a book that's legal, but
It's like an old ass book with
Yeah.
like pictures of little boys naked and
Uh-huh.
stuff.
Yeah.
I remember that briefly, like being talked about.
And actually, recently, some of the FBI files were released. This was like a year or two ago, and they really went into detail about what else they found. They said they found a lot of torture porn, for like animal tortures, and a lot more of those books. Not like that one specific one that's common, but like other ones that are kind of skirting the line like that.
Yeah, like old books.
Yeah, and
Mm.
that they suspect that the animal torture books and stuff were used to desensitize the children. Like he would be like, "Look at this crazy shit." So like when I touch you, it's not as crazy as this.
Yeah.
So charges were brought against him, and it was like 10 different felonies, including the conspiracy for like the kidnapping and stuff, the conspiracy to intoxicate a minor for like nefarious purposes, of course the sexual assault charges, and yeah, it was like a whole slew of charges.
Yeah.
They had 600 pieces of evidence, including Jackson's collection of fetish Barbies.
What?
Like he had like Barbies that were manipulated to like be in like bondage gear and stuff.
Whoa.
And there were some pornography magazines that were dusted for fingerprints and had both his and the accuser's fingerprints on them.
Wow.
Which was like one of the bigger pieces of evidence.
Yeah.
The mother of the accuser took the stand, and she was very not credible because like she was, I mean, I kind of feel for her because she was like very paranoid. Like she was saying like, you know, we had been kidnapped and there were people following us, and like, but I kind of understand like how someone who was maybe already like a little crazy might have been going through something and thought that these things were happening to her.
Yeah, because I mean, her son had cancer,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
She's divorced. She's a single mom.
Yeah, and her husband had beat her severely, like broken her arm and like
Oh, fuck.
given her a black eye, and there was this huge like settlement where he wasn't allowed to come in contact with her or their kids for 7 years.
Oh, fuck.
So she was just
They're Mexican, right? May?
yeah.
Okay.
So she was a mess, and it
Yeah.
it
She's
really
not credible.
She's not credible, and the jury did not like that. And
They shouldn't have put her on the stand.
and they immediately tore her apart because she had received a settlement from JCPenney a few years before for $150,000 because she claims that the security harassed her and her kids. The accuser,
What?
the accuser walked out of a store with clothes that he didn't pay for, that the family didn't pay for.
The kid?
Yeah, the kid.
Uh-huh.
She was still with the dad around that time because the dad was walking behind him, and she met up with them in the parking lot. And she says that the security of JCPenney like basically accosted her, like threw her against a car, threw the husband against a car, like beat her up, exposed her breasts, and she ended up getting a settlement for them. But that they used that against her in court. They were like, "You're just out for money. You're just out here like suing people."
Yeah, they're trying to show a pattern on her end.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
The accuser, of course, testified, and like the jury did believe him because he was very believable. There were things that like kind of didn't add up where
What did he say? What?
he would say stuff like, you know, Michael, when Michael touched you, was he wearing underwear? And like at one point he said yes, and like another point he said no.
Yeah.
But But everything that he said that was like inconsistent, you could see like how a child would, especially like a
Get
traumatized child.
confused.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are
So-
you gonna get into what the allegations are or no?
I mean, I don't. He claims that Michael Jackson masturbated him, like there was mutual masturbation, and also that he touched him and masturbated him until he ejaculated.
Okay.
And he would tell him stuff like, you know that little boys have to ejaculate, otherwise they get sick or something like that. Like,
What the fuck?
yeah. And that was
Holy
another
shit.
thing he was kind of confused about, because I guess his grandmother had told him something kind of similar when he was little, and like on cross-examination he like couldn't say exactly like what part his grandma told him and what part Michael told him.
Wow.
And like the brother says that he witnessed at least one incident where Michael touched him over his clothing.
The other
boy, yeah,
boy.
the accuser.
Wow. That's disgusting.
They had a psychologist that came and testified and said that only 6 to 9% of little boys are known to lie about this sort of thing.
Oh, wow.
So it's very low, and they said it's even lower for kids that are roughly the accuser's age, puberty, like prepubescent, because
How old was he?
He was 12 when this was happening, and he was on the stand at like 14, 15. 14, sorry.
Yeah, why would a kid at that age do that to themselves?
Right. And they said because it's almost non-existent for kids that age to lie because of the stigma associated. Like they already understand like, oh, people are going to call me gay or
like,
or
for
whatever.
The rest of my life.
Yes.
Like,
so they had a lot of good evidence, and then the thing that was very controversial was that the judge allowed the evidence from the previous allegations to come in.
Oh.
That's why the mother of the first accuser was allowed to testify.
Right.
And she basically testified how like he ruined her life and ruined her family, and she lost her son forever.
Yeah.
So the police thought that Debbie Rowe was going to testify for them, for a witness for the prosecution, because she had told them like he's this sadistic monster who thinks of people as property, especially children. But somehow by the time she came to testify, she was like, oh no, he's great.
Cha-ching.
Yeah, exactly. She was like, he would never touch a child, and like I want to have more children with him, and if he asked me, like I would do it in a second, and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
So the papers when she testified were like, fuck, she might have sealed the deal because of the inconsistency with the mother statement, and then she comes in who knows him pretty well and is the mother of his children. Yeah. So Michael ends up getting acquitted on all counts, as we know.
It was a jury trial?
Yeah, it was a jury trial.
That's fucking crazy.
A lot of the jurors they gave interviews and they were just like, don't like the mother, just don't like her, and they were uncomfortable. There were just some things that like you couldn't prove, and they were uncomfortable with that because it's he said,
Yeah, it's his word against. Did Michael take the stand?
Michael did not take the stand, but the crazy thing is that his attorney had been saying the whole time from the opening statements that you were going to hear from Michael, you're going to hear from him, but he ended up not taking the stand. They ended up showing hours and hours of interview footage of him from various interviews throughout the years, which is wild because then you can't cross-examine him.
Yeah, how is that not hearsay?
Right. Well, I guess
that's weird.
So they allowed that, which was crazy.
Yeah.
And
I didn't realize that this had gone all the way to jury trial too. And
yeah,
that's so dangerous on Michael's end. But I mean, there's nothing that he could do if they're putting that against him. That's it.
Right. So they acquit Michael on all charges, and
imagine how much drugs he's doing during this shit.
Oh yeah, because he would show up to court in like pajama bottoms.
Yeah, I remember
that day. The pajama bottoms day was the day that the accuser was testifying.
Didn't he jump up on a car and start dancing one time
to his fans outside?
Yeah.
He says that like the DA had it against him because he didn't get him for the first thing, and he said the whole city of Santa Barbara had a vendetta against him. And like you said, it's like he couldn't get a fair trial because where he lived, that county, he employed a lot of people in that county just working at Neverland, and
fuck yeah,
people would see him at Toys R Us buying toys for all these kids, and like everybody knew him. Not everybody talked to him obviously because he was kind of a recluse, but
yeah, it's weird.
His mom was the only family member that would go every day to trial.
Wow.
But some of the siblings would kind of like slip in and out, but they were, they stood by as a family and said that he was innocent.
Yeah.
Basically, the trial comes to an end in 2005. And
do we know what happened to the accuser's family? Did they have to leave and stuff?
They're basically in hiding, but, like, their identities are out there because of the documentary, like, their identities are known.
Yeah.
But they kinda laid low, they didn't pursue any civil settlement against him at all.
Oh, wow.
One of the crazy things was that Wade Robson, the choreographer who is allegedly, like, the reason that Britney and Justin broke up,
Right.
he testified because he was one of Michael's quote unquote "special friends" when he was young,
Mm-hmm.
and he testified, he swore on the stand that Michael never touched him, that there was never anything that happened.
Yeah, but that's like what we say. Like, there's certain people who these type of people seek out.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
just because he didn't do it to somebody else that he was close to doesn't mean anything.
And
In my opinion.
And Wade came from a similar problem where, like, his family was kind of broken up. His dad was, like, back in Australia where he was born, and, like, his mom was here, and they were, like, having a lot of problems, and Michael bought his mom, like, presents and made her live in the guest house. There was a lot of parallels, and a lot of
Uh-huh.
people had said, "Oh, Wade was definitely touched by Michael." But
Uh-huh.
he swore through the 90s and at this trial that nothing ever happened. But a few years ago, he came out and said, "I finally came to terms that this did happen to me, and he did touch me."
What?
Yeah.
No way.
But now Michael's not here to defend himself,
Yeah,
so
so I don't know. I don't like that either.
but he's like, he says, "I don't want money or anything. I'm just trying to, like," because he just had a son, and he
Yeah.
said, "When my son was born, like, I broke down in tears. I had a mental breakdown, and it took extensive therapy for me to get out of it because I was just so worried that some harm would come to my child the same way that harm came to me."
Wow.
You can watch his interview with Matt Lauer, of all people,
Oh.
on the Today Show, but he's like, he comes across like pretty credible, dude.
Wow.
One of the crazy things that I forgot about the trial was that TV cameras weren't allowed in.
Yeah,
So
because there's a minor.
E every day would do a reenactment. Do you remember
Oh
that?
my gosh, no.
Oh my God, you have to look up the videos on YouTube. They're insane. Like,
Really?
they would do like a real ass reenactment of like the day's highlights.
Oh my gosh.
It was fucking wild. So the trial ends in 2005 and he's acquitted, and then in 2006 he's finally like, okay, well, what now? He's in debt from all these legal fees,
Yeah.
and he's more lawsuits are being thrown against him by like lawyers who need to get paid, investigators who need to get paid.
Plus, after everything that came out, like, what could he possibly do?
Right.
You know?
He tries to lay low for a while. He moves to Vegas. Then he moves to Bahrain, Dubai. He's like traveling the world with the kids, just like kind of
Yeah.
trying to get by. But like, sure enough, that debt's not going away. He needs to pay his
Yeah.
bills.
Something, yeah.
So he signs a contract to do 50 shows in England. And the concert is going to be called This Is It.
Right.
And apparently, like, he was really reluctant to do this. He did not want to do this. But he had no choice. Like, he had to pay his bills or else he and his kids would be homeless, basically.
Right. 50 shows is too much for somebody at that age.
At that age, he's not in good shape either.
No. And
Mentally,
what was like
or
the time frame was crazy, right? It was like 4 months or something.
yeah, to
He
get
was gonna do
ready.
50 shows.
Yeah. His doctors are like, "I don't think you can do this," but eventually they find like some doctors to sign off on the show so that it can get insured.
Mm-hmm.
And then the company that puts on the show, I think it's called AEG. So anyway, they hire this doctor, Conrad Murray, to be his 24/7 doctor to make sure that he's okay to do the show and to get through rehearsals and stuff.
I thought that Michael hired him privately.
No. The company did. That's why they were found. That's why the company, the estate, was trying to sue the company, AEG, as being liable parties in his death.
Wow.
Because they hired this dude. And Conrad Murray was kind of like shady too. Like he had a lot. He was in like $600,000 in debt or something.
Ooh.
So he needed this job, and if Michael didn't make it to the stage, he would lose his job, and like he would be like out in the street too.
Yeah.
So Michael had long had a problem, obviously, with drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, or not obviously, but he had long had a problem with insomnia. And that was one of his biggest problems while he was preparing for this show. There were times where he would be up for like 48 hours at a time. And like he
Ooh.
just couldn't sleep and it was killing him, basically.
Yeah.
So Dr. Conrad Murray decided to start him on medications, including lorazepam, which is Ativan. When that wasn't working, he'd like step it up and like add a Xanax. And then when that wasn't working, he'd start giving him propofol, which is like,
That's the one, right?
that's the one. That's what they give you when you're having surgery, like, or they put you in an induced coma. Like, this is an anesthetic. Like, this is what.
That's fucking crazy. Like, it only should be administered in a hospital setting, right?
Yes. But they decide that, or he decides that Michael's a candidate for this. Michael says that he'd used it before. They'd used it before on him in a hospital setting when his insomnia had gotten really, really bad, and like they decide to go forward with this. And one day, Michael Jackson overdoses.
Yeah, it's too much for his body.
Yeah. So his autopsy says that he was relatively healthy, and despite him being like skinny, he wasn't anorexic. His BMI was on point. It was like 21 or something.
Mm-hmm.
His lungs were fucking fucked.
Really?
Yeah, which could be a side effect of the Demerol that he was abusing for a decade, especially in the early 90s. Like, that's what sent him to rehab in the first place. And it could also be a side effect of lupus, but like you said, like the results of the lupus were inconclusive at best or negative.
Yeah, in his autopsy, right?
Yeah.
What's Demerol mean?
Demerol is like it's a pain. It's like heroin.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the drug abuse probably severely limited his lung capacity and function of his lungs, and that's why he's on all those downers.
Yeah.
It suppresses his breathing, and then that's essentially what killed him. Because his heart was in good shape. The other, like, there was nothing really surprising about his autopsy, like just the lungs, really.
Yeah.
No hair, the vitiligo, no nose, yeah. The tattoos, his eyebrows were tattooed on. His that was another kind of sign that maybe he did have lupus, because like when you have lupus, sometimes you lose your hair, and he didn't have eyebrows.
Yeah.
Do you remember? Steph and I were actually together when we found out Michael Jackson died.
Yeah, I do totally remember that. We were at the Tyler Mall in Riverside.
Yep.
Walking around.
We were at Victoria's
Secret. We both had the CNN app at the time.
Yeah.
And you know how they do with their fucking
breaking news
alerts. We both got alerts, looked down at our phone, looked at each other, and we were like, what?
Yeah. And then like continued walking through the mall, and it was like surreal.
Because it felt weird when he died.
Yeah.
It was like something had left this earth that, I don't know.
Right.
Something larger than life. And then like in the stores, everybody was finding out, and everybody was talking about it.
It was like you would overhear someone saying like, isn't that crazy? You know?
Yeah. It was really weird because he seemed so like he would never die, you know?
Yeah.
Like he's so superhuman.
And he had been through so much
already.
So
much. Yeah.
Yeah. Dr. Conrad Murray was eventually convicted of involuntary manslaughter and went to jail. Prison. Sorry. He went to prison in connection.
Lost his medical license.
Yeah. To the death. AEG was found not liable in his death, despite them being the ones that hired him.
Wow. I didn't know about that lawsuit.
It was like, they were suing, it was big money. It was like billions because for future earnings or whatever.
Yeah, seriously.
But that got thrown out.
Dr. Conrad Murray, after he was convicted and sent to prison, was on suicide watch for like the first year of his sentence because he was like, you know, just basically ruined his life.
And he said, like, when Prince died, he put out a statement, like, to Prince's doctors, like, you guys better watch out because what happened to me could easily happen to you. So I'm surprised charges haven't been brought up against Prince and his doctors.
Yeah. But it's just like a very, very... You just like broke the moral and ethical standard to a degree so wild.
Yeah. It was
that you
egregious.
Allowed this person to die. Yeah.
Because
who's in your care too. That's the worst.
They had suspected that the propofol, which is usually given as an injection into a saline solution, you give like a small injection. They suspected that he physically broke the cap. If you guys have ever seen like the top of a bottle for something, for an injectable, it's like it's like a rubber thing.
Bottle?
Yeah, it's like a glass bottle with a rubber thing where you put a needle in. They suspected, which they didn't prove it, but this was the prosecution's argument, that he broke the top of the bottle off and put it into the saline solution. So it was just like constantly dripping, and then that's how he overdosed.
Jesus
But
Christ.
Dr. Murray says that what he thinks happened is that he gave him the safe dosage, because he said he was only gone for like 20 minutes. He said he gave
When Michael died?
Yeah. He said
Didn't Michael die in the afternoon?
in the morning, I think. At like 11.
Okay.
He said he gave him the injection as per usual, like they had been doing, and he said that he suspects that when Michael didn't fall asleep immediately because he was building a tolerance, obviously, to all these drugs, he says that he thinks that Michael injected himself, like a second dosage, into his bag and just immediately went into cardiac arrest and died.
That's fucking crazy. His life is so tragic.
Yeah. I feel bad for his kids.
Me too.
For his whole family, really.
Yeah. Do you remember when his funeral at Staples Center when Paris talks?
Yeah.
It's really sad. She's so little. Yeah.
Yeah. She says like he was the best dad in the world. And
yeah. And then Janet just hugs her.
There's like, this is, because this episode is like long as fuck, but for another episode, there's conspiracy that, Michael faked his own death.
Of course, everybody, with every like huge star that dies, people think that.
There's allegedly footage of him at the funeral. There's a lot of problems with his will. Joe Jackson says that he was completely cut out of it. And
that ain't a problem. That shit was for real.
Well, he thinks it was bullshit because he said last time he talked to Michael, he said like that he told him that he was in it, and he said magically this new will appears that I'm not in. And
no, he was talking shit to you.
There was a story about like a year or two ago. Remember when Catherine was like quote unquote kidnapped?
No.
She said that she asked for help. She said that she had been kidnapped, and because some of the siblings, including Janet, like sent her away because they were trying to talk to the kids, and like because she's the guardian of the kids, so essentially she's the guardian of the money.
Right.
This was before the kids were of age, and they allegedly the siblings were trying to get control, led by Janet. And like there was a whole thing, and the courts had to get involved.
Wow.
So that's its own episode for sure. There could be a whole slew of Jackson episodes.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember TMZ had video of Janet slapping the shit out of Paris?
Yes.
Yeah. So something's going on there.
It's just a weird family.
Too much abuse, too much money.
Too much in the spotlight.
Yes. Too much
lots of stuff.
Too much tragedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the second half of Michael Jackson's life and his death.
R.I.P. Michael Jackson. He died at 50 years old.
Jesus.
He was so fucking young.
Oh, God. He lived a big-ass life, though.
He sure did.
Shimon.
Well, that was a downer.
Yeah, super downer.
Don't listen to any more downers.
Yeah. Yeah, stay away from downers like Michael Jackson.
Seriously. Like Michael Jackson should have.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. This was our big comeback. New year, new us.
Same
we got
bullshit.
New stuff coming. Same bullshit. Coming your way. If we don't get more followers, who knows how long we'll be doing this.
If we don't get more followers, I'll have a baby by Debbie Rowe. She'll do it.
Hit us up on Insta and Twitter at Drama Club Pod. Hit us up on Gmail, dramaclubpod@gmail.com.
On our website, dramaclubpod.com, and at the hotline, 505-539-0556. Thank you all for listening. We love you so much.
Tune in Monday for our afternoon delight.
Later.
Bye.
However, whatever with your helmet.